I've actually got two stories. One raging Karen and one ignorant Carl that just happened the other day. About me and my wife. Important. I'm not that tall or muscular. 5'10", 175, but I do have a deep commanding drawl. I'm also a cabinet maker with 30-plus years experience and a general jack of all trades, including electrical. Second year apprentice before I decided it was not for me. Wife is 6 years older than me. Not a big woman, but not skinny either. Really friendly and outgoing, and worked retail for many, many years. This story is from my wife's work. She has a lot of retail stories, circa 2007, so can't remember exact details, but it's pretty close. So in our area, stores aren't allowed to sell alcohol before 11 a.m. The store owner keeps the beer cooler locked and the liquor section roped off till then. It's Sunday, about 9:30 a.m., in staggered, drunk, raging Corinne, and heading towards the beer cooler. My wife is stocking chips. One aisle over from the cooler, the innocent customer is getting a few things and has a basket in hand. Employees wear gray slacks, white polos, and a dark blue vest with the store's name on front and back. The innocent customer has on a dress. Anyways, the drunk, raging Karen gets to the beer cooler and tries to open it. She starts tugging and cursing and yells at the innocent customer. "Hey you! Open this up!" The innocent customer looks at her bewildered. Karen gets in the innocent customer's face. "Are you deaf?" I said. "Open it up!" By this time, wife has gone to see what's going on and turns the corner just in time to see Karen push the innocent customer and scream at the top of her lungs. "Open the cooler. I swear to God if I have to tell you one more." Wife firmly says, "She doesn't work here. But I do, and you just assaulted a customer. I think it's best if you leave the store." The store owner had also come back to see what was going on and was getting close to them. Karen looks at the innocent customer, mutters sorry, looks at wife and says, "Well then, you better open the cooler or else I'll." The store owner turns the corner and says, "Or else you'll what?" Karen looks at him and shrieks. Wife said her voice went up 2 octaves. "I know the owner and I'll have you all fired. Now open this cooler up. Now!" The store owner calmly looks at her. "You know the store owner?" Karen, "Yes, I do, and you are so fired unless you open this up now." The store owner, slightly ticked off by now. "First off, we can't open it till 11 by law. Second, I don't know you and I am the owner." "Karen, you aren't the owner. Open this cooler now. I ain't leaving till I—" The store owner motions to wife. "Call the police." Wife and the innocent customer head to front of store. Wife calls police and checks out the innocent customer. Karen is still carrying on, telling the store owner he isn't the owner, screaming about the cooler, kicking the cooler, etc. Minutes later, police arrive, proceed to escort her out of the store and arrest her for DWI, as well as disturbing the peace and bunch of other charges. 3 days later, Karen, sober this time, enters the store. The owner greets her halfway down the aisle and tells her to leave. She is no longer welcome there. Karen gets mad and starts arguing and gets the police called on her again. Wife says she never saw her again after that. Story 2, circa 2020, just last week. Place, Menards. Menards employees generally wear khakis, collared shirts, and blue vests with Menards printed on them. My outfit that day consisted of torn jeans, ratty steel-toe shoes, and stained gray t-shirt. No way I could be confused with an employee, plus I was pushing a cart. So I'm talking with employee 1 who manages electrical. I'm telling him about my plans for burying the water and power lines for our new house. A customer comes up and asks employee 1 about something, and he leaves me to my business. Cue ignorant Carl. "Hey you, where do you keep the spool wire?" My back was to him. Although I glanced back towards him, it didn't register that he was talking to me. Ignorant Carl. "Hey, I'm talking to you." I turned around and saw him 5 feet away, mask around neck, looking at me. "Are you talking to me?" Ignorant Carl scoffs. "Do you see anyone else around?" And slowly, purposefully pronouncing every syllable like you would a 3-year-old, "Where do you keep the spool wire?" I don't work." You don't know. What good are you? Typical Menards employee, dumber than a little kid." It took me a second or two for what he was saying to sink in. I was frozen like a deer in headlights. Did he just call me dumber than a little kid? He then grabbed my arm and started, "Are you stupid or what?" I snapped out of it, wrenched my arm from his grasp, and raised my voice a bit. When I raise my voice, it gets deeper and meaner. Firstly, I don't work here. Second, you need to learn some manners. Thirdly, Menards doesn't sell wire by the spool except special order, and if you touch me again, I'll break your hand. I could see it in his eyes. The way he talked and the way I said it startled him, and at that point, it clicked to him, my dress, my cart, my demeanor, that I wasn't an employee. Sorry, I thought you worked here." At that point, employee 2 walked into the aisle and asked if either of us needed help. Ignorant Carl still being his ignorant self. Finally, maybe someone who actually knows something. Ignorant Carl points at me. "This guy says you don't have spool wire, that I have to special order it. Is that true, and how long will that take?" Employee 2. "Well, most wire sold by the spool is special order, but we do have a few types of aluminum wire in stock." Ignorant Carl's eyes lit up like he won the jackpot at bingo. "I need a spool of 4-gauge copper. Do you have that?" Employee 2, walking over to computer. "Let me check." Ignorant Carl, looking at me like he'd just beat me in checkers. "Special order, yeah?" Employee 2, walking back, says, "No, we don't have 4-gauge in copper, but we have 2-gauge in aluminum." Ignorant Carl, "I don't want 2-gauge. I want 4-gauge. It's thicker, and I need thicker." At this point, it dawned on me that this guy was an idiot. Anyone who's dealt with wiring knows that the lower the number, the heavier the wire, and the more current it can carry. No, 4-gauge is not thicker than 2-gauge. "Shut up, I didn't ask you. You don't know nothing. You don't work here," and poked his finger into my chest. Reflexes kicked in, and I grabbed his finger and bent it back and growled, "I warned you, touch me again. I will break it." He screams, and I let go. No broken finger, maybe in a bit of pain though. Employee 1 comes rushing down the aisle. Ignorant Carl is now screaming bloody murder. How's he's gonna sue me in the store? Employee 2 gets out his radio and calls for the store manager. I'm seriously mad at this point. I was having a great day till this prick showed up. Employee 1 is talking to me, trying to get me to calm down. Employee 2 is trying to comfort the ignorant Carl. The manager enters the scene, and the ignorant Carl starts lying about how I just grabbed his finger for no reason and broke it. Employee 2 says that's not exactly what happened and proceeds to explain to the store manager everything he saw. The manager turns to both of us and says, "Well, I'm not going to call the police, but I'd like you to both leave the store and not come back." I was absolutely mad at this point, so I decided to get the last word in with ignorant Carl. "You, sir, are the one who's dumber than a little kid. I'm a second-year electrical apprentice. The lower the number, the thicker the wire, the more current it can carry. You probably have never wired stuff in your entire life. You just like being an ignorant Carl." This happened a while ago, and I thought I would post it as a small break from the Karens. So I was in the local small supermarket, which also had some home improvement items and other such things. I was there just picking up some plumber's epoxy because I love that stuff if I want things to stay where I put them. A little old lady came up to me and asked me a question about gluing something, like a mounted coat rack, together, and I told her if you want it to stay where you glue it forever, I recommend epoxy, but it may need to be sanded and painted for something like that. I asked how much weight it would need to hold, and she told me, can't remember how much, but I suggested the epoxy and to just sand it and paint it. I asked her if there was someone that could help her do that, and she said her nephew could help her with that. My wife at the time was getting irritated with me because she was waiting on me to finish grocery shopping. She was a witch anyway. The lady then asked me a question about how to fix something. I think it was the float in her toilet. I asked many questions about what the problem was and determined that she just needed a new flapper, kept running when it was closed, so I walked her over and got the part she needed. Keep in mind that her nephew was going to help her with all of this, as she said to me. Then the lady was happy with my help and asked me to help her get some dog food into her cart. It was then that I realized that I'm wearing some of the same colors as the people who worked there, except I was wearing jeans. Since she was very nice to me, I said sure. My ex-wife became more irritated. After I helped her with the dog food, I asked her if she needed help lifting anything else. She said no and went to check out. About 30 minutes later, we were done shopping and checked out. As we were walking out to the car, I noticed the same old lady I had helped standing by her cart and SUV with her very frail husband. I offered to help, and there were like 2 bags and the bag of dog food I put on the lower part of the cart. I picked up the 2 bags and placed them in with the rest and then the dog food. The little old lady looked at me confused and said, "You don't work here, do you?" I said no, and she offered me $20 for the help. I denied, but if you've been offered money by someone of their generation, you know that they will get that money to you, no matter what. By this time, my ex-wife was so irritated with me from holding her up from her precious beer that I was ready for a fight on the way home. After driving about a block away, I was ready for a fight. But she handed me $20 and said the woman forced her to take it. I was pleasantly surprised that I wasn't going to have to fight with her. I think the lady's attitude and maybe what she said to her calmed her down. I know this is a boring story, but thought it would be a good break from all of the horrible things I see on here. I was cleaning some kiln shelves off in the ceramic studio during open lab hours. A student and her mother came into the kiln yard, and I overheard the student say, "Oh, my pieces didn't get fired." Not my business, I'm just a student and I'm wrapping up my last personal firing of the semester. A few seconds later, there is an aggressive, almost painful tapping on my shoulder. Why didn't her work get fired? It was supposed to be ready to be taken home today. Student: "Mom, that's not my teacher. This goes unheard or ignored by the mother." Me: "Sorry, I'm just a student here. I don't fire others' work. We need her work done by Friday. She's graduating and we're leaving the state. You're so selfish for not putting her stuff in that kiln. I saw how much room you have in there." The student looked absolutely mortified behind her mom. I explained that I was firing porcelain and that her daughter's work was low-fire clay and would have melted in the kiln. I also state that I'm not allowed to fire other students' pieces unless given the go-ahead by my professor. The mom: "That is unacceptable. Get up and fire her work. I paid $1,500, bullcrap, by the way, for this class, and she's going to take home everything she made." I go back in the studio, and the mom follows me into the upper division area, which is off-limits to most people, saying, "Get back here." I ignore her and just try to wrap up a couple bowls so I can put them in my bag. She then notices all the work in the advanced space and starts touching it. The mom: "Why aren't the intro classes given projects like this? For how much the course is, the content should be better." Student: "Mom, we need to learn the basics first." Also ignored. I'm now blocked from exiting the space by a very angry woman who has got her hand on a sculpture my classmate has been working on all semester. She keeps telling me I'm lazy and that firing takes no effort because the kilns are self-regulating. Our kilns are gas and need constant monitoring over several hours. Finally, my saving grace arrives. Our shop manager, who is kind of a jerk with a short fuse, but who I appreciate deeply for all he does, appears behind her. I can see the student pale a little bit knowing what's coming. Lab manager: "What the hell are you doing in the advanced space?" Mom starts going off again. My lab manager looks calmly at me and tells me I can go. He clears the way, and I take my chance. And just as I am leaving the studio, I hear him start yelling, "Justice at last, but my God!" I want to share a story. A few years back, I worked as a police dispatcher. We were required to dress in business casual, so khakis and a button-down or polo. I'm assuming you've read the title and see where this is going. So after work one day, the girlfriend and I stopped by Target on the way home to grab a few things. I'm wearing, you guessed it, a red polo with khaki pants. I also have an ID badge on my belt denoting communicator Joe Schmo Police Dep. I grabbed some olive oil, brought it to my girlfriend who told me she got some a few days ago. So I go back to the olive oil aisle and put it back. I put it back in its proper place because I'm not an inconsiderate jerk. Anyway, lady comes up to me and asks where she can find some brand dog food. I just thought she was asking for my opinion, so I gave her a general direction. She went off. Like 5 minutes later, I'm looking at Harry's razors, and I feel someone poke me on my shoulder. I turn and find the lady standing there looking displeased. Lady, my dog food wasn't where you said it was. Me, well, I don't know. I guess ask someone who works here. I am you. Nope, I don't work here. Turns and looks away. Yes, you do. You were stocking shelves. Yeah, don't talk to me. Lady grabs my arms and pulls me to face her. Have you ever got a sudden flare of anger? I did. This witch touched me. Young man, I am a customer and you'd better. Don't you touch me. My voice was a little raised now. Touch me again. You and I are going to have a problem. She was obviously taken aback. She said something about me being fired and a manager. She scurried away. I found my girlfriend and we went to check out. At this point, it still hadn't really clicked that she thought I worked there. I just thought she was rude. We get to the self-checkout and the lady with the Target employee approaches me and my girlfriend. That's him. That's your stock boy who threatened me. What the hell? I don't work here, lady. Leave me the hell alone. The manager, looking nonplussed, said, You don't work here. Nope. This chick started bothering me, then grabbed me, my girlfriend said. He doesn't work here. Lady, don't you lie to me. You were stocking shelves and told me where to get dog food. Me. Leave me alone, or we're gonna have real problems. Lady, how about I call the police and tell them how you just threatened me? Me. I dare you. I show her my ID badge. Let's see how that works out for you. I should mention the PD I worked for is in the same town as Target. The manager takes the opportunity and just says, Have a nice evening, and motions the woman away, and she follows. She just sort of gaped at me when she saw that I was, in fact, not an employee of Target, but of the police department she was going to call on me. Not a big story with fireworks, but still one to tell. Moral: beware wearing red polos and stay thirsty, my friends.